Started. All right, thanks everyone for joining. Today is our last day on this old tooling, and the first item on the agenda is just for everybody to come up to speed on how things will work next week and going forward. Step one, I think, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, is everybody needs an LF account, so go create one of those. This is my account. You get an individual dashboard. That's not the URL I typed in. LFX is the tooling that will get you. I think it's lfx.linuxfoundation.org. Turns into this. So you will get an account. You'll have your email with it like I have here. And let me turn it over to, I guess, Michelle on next steps.
Sure. And if you also see the self-registration Zoom link that I included in the agenda, if you click on that, it'll actually take you to a landing page where you can create an account, or you can log in if you have an existing account. A lot of times people do, especially if you've registered for an LF event in the past or attended any other meetings, you might already have one. So just double check that before creating a new one. You can also join as a guest, so you're not required to create an LF account, but we do highly encourage it because it allows us to look at the meeting after it's done and see who attended. And so we don't have to do this kind of roll call at the beginning. The tool will automatically do that for us. And it definitely helps when we're trying to do quorum or voting. And it also helps kind of gauge how well our meetings are going. If we're able to see, numerous attendees attending for the majority of the meeting, that is a positive thing about the content of the meeting. If we're only having a few people and they drop out after a few minutes, obviously we need to make some changes to the agenda. So if you create an account and log in with it, that definitely helps us as far as health metrics for the project over the span of the year. I also created a new calendar here, so you can add the calendar to your Google Calendar. And that way you can just have it and can click directly in from the calendar link if that's easier, rather than going into the LFX platform to get to the Zoom link.
So I ask a question here because just from my dashboard, just as an example, I see no obvious way to go learn about the TST meeting. I mean, I happen to have tooling that will let me go to the project page, Project Control Center.
Yeah, so right now they don't.
No one else is going to be able to do that, right?
Right. That's an internal mechanism for program managers and for community managers, which I believe that's what your role is in that tool, Larry. But we will, when we have the wiki set up, the wiki can be linked to on the Aether website, and it will have all of those links as well. So it will be the public facing.
All right. So there's no way to get from the LF portal to know how to find that, but other places, the wiki, calendars, and so on will have the link. Okay.
Yeah, I think there will be a way to add meetings. Like if you see to your left there, how you have meetings, I think there at some point will be, like you might be able to find meetings you're registered for there. I'm not sure if they've implemented that tooling yet. I think it is somewhere down the line being worked on. But I don't know.
Okay, so I can't search for it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be there eventually. For now, that's why we created the calendar, and while we'll have the wiki so everyone can find these things easily.
Hey, Michel, last week, that's Christian, when I tried to create my account, I go to the page and it asked me to pay, the 75K bill. So
you're delinquent in your bill, Christian.
Yeah, I don't know if it's due to the email address I'm signing for with Intel.com or.
No, you should be able to, Christian, create it as an individual rather than as a company. You might have clicked on a link that had you signing up for one of the projects, and you do use your LFID if you're trying to sign your company up for a project, but to just create an account, there shouldn't be any fees involved. It's a free process. So try clicking on that Zoom registration link and seeing if that takes you to the right place.
Okay, there you go.
I can also drop this link into chat too.
I have
If-
the stuff open here.
Yeah, if you could drop it in the notes, it would be best. Oh, I'm sorry, you're gonna put that link there.
I
Yeah.
just dropped it in the chat.
Yeah.
So that one is directly to the page to create an account. They use it just like ONF used accounts to manage crowd permissions and wiki access and all of that. They use the same thing.
Invalid request I get when I click on this link. Get help.
Oh, interesting.
So, on the wiki issue, are you debugging something?
I don't, Daft, do you have an update on the domain transfer? Because that's been the block for the wiki.
I've been told they are completed. Basically pinged them this morning and Johnson confirmed that they are closed. Whether or not they're in PCC yet, that I'm not sure about. They are definitely transferred to LF though through IT.
So just for the record, it will be wiki.etherproject.org as soon as this is all ready, right?
It better be. If not, then there was no point transferring the domain.
Yeah, thank you.
I agree.
So it's not in PCC yet. Daft, could you follow up with Johnson and ask if we need to submit another ticket for actually creating the Confluence instance with the domains?
Okay.
So just, and we will keep using Slack as a communication channel for the time being, so go there. But until the wiki's ready, we'll just keep using this Google Doc for our notes. As soon as the wiki's up, we will start taking notes in the wiki. But that may be a tiny while. But we will start using the Zoom link and the calendar link as of next week.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else on that front, either Michelle or Daft, that we should talk about?
The one minor, well, and not for this meeting, there's a p4.org issue that I can talk separately in
Okay.
the next meeting.
Anybody else have questions about all this? Okay, thank you. Looks like next time we will go to the new Zoom call at least. All right, so we got some other stuff on the agenda. I have a feeling this first one might be a discussion. Well, maybe not. Let's go ahead and tackle it and see where it takes us. Gabriel, AJ, you're talking about testing.
I'm just trying to recall.
Yeah, me too.
Well, okay, so
so
it's kind of just a note, an aware note that the SD core documentation has some very dated information about testing because it's all dependent on NG40, and we had to pay for it. We no longer use it.
right.
And
Yeah.
right. And so I added a sub bullet here, which is I recognized exactly the same thing. In fact, we recognized the NG40 some time ago, and I just recently updated the Ether level discussion about testing. You could just go take a look at that and see if it's helpful. It probably needs more detail at the core level, though.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I can remember this part. So there is this testing section that we refer to this NG4, and also everything was triggered from a PR that Suresh opened to update details about deploying the UPF in DPDK mode. So to be able to submit something that we need to run the tests, but the tests were failing because of two links. One was basically the one redirect in a YouTube video, and the other one was basically the NG4T didn't exist anymore. So basically it was a redirect towards, I think, Vivanti or something like that. So that basically triggered the whole discussion. And then, that Ajay pointed out that we are not using the NG4T anymore. So we should update also the about systems test documentation, because there we are mentioning that the 4G is being tested with that tool.
Okay, so this is so it minimally, the easy part is it's a doc update. The big picture, which we can't solve today, but we do need to keep our eye on, that is, what is the appropriate way to claim the SD core has been tested? My working assumption has been that GNB SIM has become the replacement for NG4014. And yeah, we just need to make sure that we keep advancing it as we keep adding features to SD core.
Mhm.
I mean, I refer to it at sort of at the integration level. I would certainly run Aether on ramp against GNB SIM, but that's more to make sure that all the parts fit together. It's less of a test. It doesn't drill down testing some small feature within SD core.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so speaking of Aether docs, I have moved them from Garrett to GitHub as part of our try to get stuff out of Garrett exercise. There is an action that will publish the docs. So if anyone wants to look at what I did there and mimic that for other documentation, don't get any dApps help, but it's all quite doable.
Yeah, I'm planning to
And
kind of
if you
reuse
have
that
any
one.
suggestions that I've left some giant security hole, please speak up. But I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I'm planning to kind of try to use this as a basis for the SD core, for the Ether docs. For the SD core docs.
While we're on this subject, I will just note that I hope I don't get the name of this wrong. It's Get Pages. Is that familiar to anyone? So it's possible to actually publish the HTML on GitHub.
You're talking about creating a website?
What's that?
Are you talking about creating a website off of?
No,
GitHub?
this is not this. I'm narrowly talking about docs at this point. Yeah, it should be possible to do that for a larger website, with the caveat that we already have tooling to create decent looking docs. If you were going to create HTML for a fancy website, you still have the problem of creating the fancy HTML. But in terms of a primitive page, yeah, it should be possible. So I'm raising this specifically because we currently publish all of our docs to an AWS server, and it's possible that we could get out from underneath that. It's not a huge deal, but we could certainly do that.
Yeah, well, that would be kind of nice, but I guess it seems like Git Pages is orthogonal to the Ether docs, you know.
Well, only in the sense that I also have not in Ether docs, but for my books, Bruce has been setting up Git Pages for publishing our books, and it's a very straightforward action to do that. It's all kind of built in.
All right, so maybe it's not
So
orthogonal.
it's linked in that way. It's that easy to do it. Yeah, what I had to set up an rsync with the web server and get all the credentials right, and there were some, few hoops to jump through there. Okay, so that's more FYI, and over time we'll start to move stuff. Any other docs issues to talk about?
Probably
I'll just
not
make
really.
note here since you raised it. It's an option for an Ether web page. Maybe. I mean, it probably is, but we'd have to figure out how to make the HTML look good. Okay. So last time we decided that we wanted to make progress on a roadmap with milestones, release plans, and so on for SD core. And there's a doc started. I will jump to it, and if you want to, I can sort of scroll through this. AJ and Gabriel, you've started this. Maybe you want to just talk to it a little bit.
Haven't really started on my end. Gabe, AJ, you guys have been discussing?
So this is about roadmap, right? We could not complete it, but we definitely have few things which we need a closure before even doing any release, right? So first, I think I can walk over like few jobs we need. Okay, let's see first, like what is the setup we want to make sure that the first bullet, right? Target CI/CD setup, right? Some setup where we say that the qualified release, right, should work. Second is that let's agree on few test cases, whatever that is, like maybe 5, 10, 15. Now, jobs for the doc should work, like any changes we do in the document repository should trigger the update in the website. Then second is the jobs for the Helm chart should work. That means every time we change any Helm chart, the new Helm chart should get published. And jobs for the GitHub code image. This, I think the last one is definitely fixed by Dav and maybe others as well for now. So like if you're committing any code, a new image should be generated and pushed to Docker Hub, right? So these are the basic minimal thing we need. It has nothing to do with the coding, new code, right? Just this framework needs to work and we need to agree. And then the next is like, what is the release process? I think that's where we can take help from some of the things we can do ourselves, and in some cases we need from the DApp. And now the other bullets you can see, Larry, like user plane and control plane. We were just trying to catch up with the what is it that is already done and what is it that it's in progress and we want to complete it.
Yeah. So those
and
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and one bullet is like, can you scroll it down if there's any issue, like something? Yeah, next, I think this is where we want to add some wish list, like what is it that we couldn't complete this, but we had two steps. One is like, let's finalize the content for the release and fix the date, get that all the blocking issues resolved, and while doing that, identify the set of issues which we should target in the next release. The first bullet itself is a major, like upgrading the release compliance, right? So that is on the whole control plane, and maybe it touches the user plane also at some cases. The second bullet is about the time sensitive networking related work items. And third was about the tool, which I was not sure what is it that we can target, but I had added few bullets here, but need more expansion and more details here to give the idea.
Yeah, so the release convergence as a top level bullet is picking a release of the 3GPP that we want to hit some set of features on. That's pretty clear. The time sensitive network, that's an Intel Labs project.
Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
Yep.
Okay, so this one is about well, I'll just put Intel Labs here. Intel Labs has built a set of features. We have to pick which ones are going to make it.
I'm not sure, like if it's already built.
No, it's not built. That's what we are planning to.
But there is a requirement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there is a requirement.
All right,
and
so it's a set of Intel Lab contributions. Let me just, for the sake of symmetry here, we also have a scalable core
with
plane. So now we've got Purdue contributions.
Yeah, I think we should check with the Purdue, like whether they will be able to make it in the current release or they will not be able to. So currently we are thinking about doing something at the end of March, which is like 1.5 months away, or maybe first week of April or something.
You're now pointing ahead to the next release after that here.
Yeah, yeah, this is the next one. Yeah.
All right, so if I come back to here,
so there are many things I think we have not yet added here. That's the missing part. Few things we need to add here.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a control plane section changes there. Yeah. So the third bullet, that's where the Purdue scalability work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I'm
so
not sure if we have enough time to get their whole code, but yeah, I mean, it depends on the Purdue
so
intention.
there's Purdue's parallel, scalable stuff, but there's also just a set of performance bugs they've called out. Are those getting imported?
I think at least whatever bugs I have fixed, I have given them patches, and at the same time, I have raised those pull requests in the
Okay, so
TST
you've
code.
been kind of the liaison
yeah,
on that. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so
So at least whatever minor fixes I have done, or maybe bug fixes, that is part of the current SD core code, but not some of the major changes done are only with the Purdue. Yeah.
all right, got it.
Hey, can I ask about two other things we've talked about, but I don't think I've ever made it into the code base. So one is Intel Labs OAI integration that was done in collaboration with, was funded by the Navy, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so what happened with that?
Well, there was talk at one point in time of sort of that work getting contributed back into open source.
Yeah, we already. Oh, go ahead, Christian.
No, yeah, it has been contributed back, right? We raised the PR for the rock, the different components which have been touched in Aether, and on the other side, the OAI software also has been released, right?
Yeah, so from that perspective, we have open PRs in the SD-RAN components. There are a few PRs open for several months now, and also we have a few PRs open in the ROC for different ROC components.
Okay, so just to try to keep things straight here, we are now stepped out of SD core and we're talking about Ether level features because it crosses. We're narrowly
Yes.
focused on, right? So
Yeah.
the OAI, I don't know how to say this. Enable OAI.
Well, it's not OAI itself, right? So
Yeah.
OAI
You use OAI?
we use OAI, yes. But we
Yeah.
did when we did the changes was on the RIC and also on the ROC.
I mean, OAI changes were made by Northeastern, right? And these changes also have been made available, right? Yes.
Right.
So the point I want to get to is having contributed, first of all, there's pull requests to both the RIC and the ROC. Those need to be improved. Second, because this is a feature that spans multiple subsystems, it also needs to have an integration test as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that's a second level ask. You could certainly have improvements to the RIC and the ROC independent of that. But if we're going to make it widely available, we need a blueprint for it.
Correct.
All right. So this is just for completeness here. This is really orthogonal to this. I don't know. So, I mean, what we at some level, what we need to understand the sequencing, the milestones for the core. We need to understand the milestones for the RAN and for the ROC, and then we need to understand the sequencing at the Ether wide level, and they all need to be coordinated. But I think getting this down for the core is the top priority because it is such an important component.
Well, and just the other piece, and similar vein, I completely agree with you. This is beyond SD core, and I was, realizing that, but I figured, well, I'd like to talk about sort of the bigger picture of how it all fits together. The other piece is also the SD-RAN integration that Ujun was doing with on-ramp, and whether that's fully integrated.
That's done. That runs. So just FYI, because this is a roadmap. There is also a roadmap for on-ramp / Ether as a whole. And it is linked in the documentation, I hope. But just so that everyone know, this is the corresponding roadmap that I've been keeping tabs on. And I'm happy to open this up and have other people contribute as well, but we're currently working on UE RANSIM. SD Core was on this list, but it's taken off because it's now supported. But as a long-term goal, there's also just adding more 5G options, of which OAI is one. So I grouped them in the following way, but all of these should be doable. It's just a matter of, because they worked at one time, but this needs to be repackaged so it's easy for people to deploy. And then I've got an infrastructure level. We're trying to migrate the tests from Jenkins to JJB so we can get them on GitHub.
So, Larry, while we are on Aether on-ramp topic, right? So what's our long-term strategy? Do we want to maintain Aether in a box, or we just want to move everything to Aether on-ramp?
So we talked about this a while ago, and we kind of said Ether in a box is not going to go away, but the rationale for on-ramp is for people that are trying to, the primary rationale is for people that are trying to consume Ether. It's not necessarily going to be, if you're already using Ether in a box, it's hard to find a compelling reason to move to on-ramp, except that if you ever have to get it published in a way that other people are going to consume it, you'll eventually have to jump that hurdle.
Okay.
Yeah, but the first and foremost objective with on-ramp was to make it consumable, not to replace Ether in a box as the easiest possible way to do your own development. So just for the record, there is, let me just go ahead and get this in here since we've touched on it. And again, this is very, I mean, it's obviously very high level. It's not a detailed thing. Okay. So back to this preliminary roadmap. There's more detail to flesh out on the control plane changes and the user plane changes. What else? We need to establish, what it means to be done. And
yeah, I just quickly added the next bullet as well. Dev environment. We want to make sure that Ether on ramp and Ether in a box, they work with the new updated Helm charts. So
yeah,
that should be our exit gate. Hopefully these things will get used in the CI/CD. Then we have the release process defined, and then list of features for user plane, control plane, and the tools. Right. So yeah, I think if we have the modest target, I mean, if we keep it too ambitious, then we'll not be able to hit March end.
yeah. So, I think having the bar as high as possible on the process,
yeah,
over the details of exactly what got released this time is if you had to rank order things.
okay, yeah, I agree. I think we need to get all these tooling, everything set and properly published. Yeah. Okay.
Probably something that is not fully clear to me. So from the documentation perspective, Larry has already an action to do that publishing for the Ether docs, so we can do something similar for the SD cores.
Yeah.
For pushing the GitHub, the images to Docker, DAF is working on kind of like bringing back the Jenkins part, and I also have an equivalent GitHub action to do that. What is not fully clear to me, what is the process for the Helm charts?
So
are they typically published or pushed to?
So yeah, I think there's a job. We can probably do one test commit and then see if it is still working. It's definitely it's not going to work because it's a similar job, right? And then we'll work with the DAF to get that job fixed. We can just add one of the sample code changes into that one of the Helm chart, SD core,
Okay.
or maybe SD RAN, or maybe Aether. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, okay. SD-RAN, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we need to get all the jobs up and running to publish those images
Yeah,
and
of
charts
course.
and everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So on the agreeing the test cases, there needs to be more. I'm just establishing that minimally, we should be able to bring up on-ramp, include the latest Helm charts, the latest images, and run GNB sim against it. I mean, that was our release criteria last time.
But something to keep in mind for a GNB sim, it would be good to enable all the different profiles that are there, right? So not just the default profile that is enabled, which is only one use case. But it would be good to enable all the different profiles.
So does profile 2 subsume the other profiles or not?
Sorry, Larry, what was the question?
So this is an excellent point, and I never fully appreciated or understood it. So GNB sim profile 2 is what gets tested by default.
Right.
And I was thinking profile 2 was pretty close to subsuming the other profiles, but that's not the case.
No,
I don't think so.
Profile 2 just attaches to the network and does the data test, but there are
Okay,
like
so
7 to 8 profiles.
we would also, so we needed to find a new integration test. Let's call it exhaustive.
Yeah, logically we should enable all the profile
all of
and
it.
test all. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Test all profiles. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, I will. So we're going to get to QA here in a second, and we will
Larry,
add that up to the list.
before you move on, something to kind of keep in mind. I believe there is 1 or 2 profiles that are not fully working with GNB sim. Ajay, correct me in that part. There is 1 profile that I think depends on some type of timer from the core network or something like that.
Yeah, one of the profile needs. Yeah, I think I can highlight that network triggered UE deregistration is what the profile needs. Some config changes on the core side to trigger those messages. I think apart from that rest, yeah, I can add the detail in this note. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is also 1 more profile that is I have disabled. Just give me 1 sec. Profile. Yeah, so profile 8, which is the network request, the session release. And there is another profile that I have that is not enabled because it is giving me problems. But that was before any changes that we made. So profile 8.
All right, so the to-do item here is determine which profiles are currently relevant and working.
Yeah, it's just the last profile that is disabled.
Okay.
So, which is the one that fails, that needs the network timer or request from the network itself.
Okay. Okay. Nice. This is great. All right. Anything else here? It's a nice segue to testing. And so I'm going to go ahead and add this, start building a, I'm just exhaustive profile test. C core roadmap. All right, so
for these exhaustive kind of like tests, besides enabling all the profiles, do we also want to kind of like execute these profiles kind of like in parallel?
I mean, yeah, let's spec that out. Parallel, it makes complete sense.
And then the other part, I don't know, I mean, to increase kind of like scalability, maybe increase the number of UEs, because by default we tested only 5 UEs, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I periodically have run it on more, but yeah. So I think that the big takeaway here is to define this. I'm going to include that. What profiles, parallel, number of UEs. Are there other dimensions I'm forgetting? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You can't see it until I type enter. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's put that on the, this is a work item we'll try to get this spec'd out by next time or soon after. Okay, so Kunal, an update on where things are?
Sure. So for the first UE failure issue that we were seeing earlier, so for that we have discussed this with Ajay, and he has provided a new web UI image to us, and for that we have created a integration test which will continuously test with this custom image, and we have run approximately 7-8 tests, but initially there were few issues, but for the last two uh, uh, runs we have not seen any issues in GNBSIM validation. So
Excellent.
that is where we were seeing issues earlier, that the first UE was not getting passed. So we'll continuously monitor it now, and we'll see if we could we get any issues going forward.
Good. Thank you. Excellent. I'm just looking here at the job creation. Running the simulator, I was just looking for, how did you adjust
For
the image?
Yeah, for now we are not pulling the I mean the git clone thing is commented, so for now we have hard coded it, and going forward, I mean after this I'm going to make this change with maybe a set command.
So I was just, so you hard coded it, which I completely get. That's fine. I was just wondering. 5G install. Hard coded it where?
So Ether on ramp, we have cloned Ether on ramp, and then we have
Oh,
changed
you've
it
gone in
in
behind the scenes. It's not going to show up in the script.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Got it. Thank you. So let's just make
Yeah.
note
So it
of
was
that.
just the first test, so that's why we did not do it from
So
in the script
it
itself.
seems to solve the problem that we were seeing.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So
It needs to be generalized. Well, I mean, in terms of hard coding it, we know what the answer is. We're just waiting for the next release. So we're not going to want to, we don't necessarily want to purpose. I don't know what the general version of this is what I'm trying to say. We knew we wanted to change one image. You can now change that one image. It now works. We know that's what we need to do.
right.
I don't know that this is a long-lived integration test is all I'm saying. It's a one-time test. Well, one time means until the release.
Yeah.
Okay. So the second item. Jenkins Job Builder.
Yeah. So earlier we were discussing about JJB for the integration test. So we planned a Ether Jenkins repo for storing our JJB files, right?
Mm-hmm.
So earlier we were discussing that we have some plans to replicate the structure of Ether CI management into Ether Jenkins, and taking that repo as a reference, we will be kind of optimize these tests, right? So I had a discussion with DAF regarding this, and we were discussing about how we are going to target this. Are we going to use the JJB, or we have as LF is moving most of the things towards GitHub Actions? So should we go with the GitHub Actions?
Let's go
Yeah,
with.
I think that we've got a ton of work to do to turn all of our CI testing into GitHub Actions.
Right.
I would argue that what we want to do is to stay with Jenkins for now to see this through. This is redoing everything that we've got running in Jenkins as a GitHub action is a huge step.
Yep.
And so I would say, and DAP and I've had this conversation as well. So let's stay with Jenkins for this task. It's also the case that we need an AWS image to run the VM to run this, and there has to be integration with AWS, which you can do from GitHub certainly, but it doesn't come quite as for free as some of the actions.
Yeah, I got more guidance from LF this morning on JJB versus GA anyway. We definitely want to stay with JJB for complex issues, which this qualifies as.
Right.
Okay, so we now, so once you replicate the supportive under, the supportive stuff that sits under the actual job, will we have taken also a big step of moving the other CI jobs to GitHub? In other words, if to put these integration tests into GitHub required as step one, port Ether CI management repo entirely to GitHub, then we have already done that heavy lift. Daph, am I making any sense?
Not to me yet.
Right, so these actions require, so this discussion with Daph, I understood to be, in order to run these jobs out of GitHub, the Ethers Jenkins repo, we had to backfill some definitions and some substrate that was probably already existed in Garrett.
Well, the presumption was that Garrett could not run GitHub Actions. LF has figured out a way to do that. I'm not sure we want to.
No,
but
we
they've
don't want
figured
to.
out a way to do that. I'm not aware of what else you may be referring to.
I'm sorry. All right, so I have hijacked this in the wrong way. There was a second question I thought, which was Ether Jenkins repo needs some sub pieces from the Garrett repo. and maybe I misunderstood this. I thought there was some backfill that you needed to do to provide some underpinning just to run the Jenkins jobs, just to run the JJB stuff.
No, sorry, that may be an artifact of an earlier problem using my Mac instead of a Unix box to run jobs.
Okay, then I will just pretend that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So all that said, what is the next step in setting up these integration tests in JJB in the GitHub repo and running them from Jenkins?
I need a script that would perform the integration test that I will move into JJB. If the integrations already exist, we can start that tomorrow morning.
So these are scripts that will turn.
I don't know
current
how to
JJB
run the integration tests, so somebody needs to show me.
All right, so the integration tests, where were we with Jenkins? Here it is. If you use the on-ramp,
If I use OnRamp, that's fine.
if you use the on-ramp, what do you call this, view or whatever this is? These are the jobs.
Okay. So these are the ones that are, okay.
And every single one of them, if you go into
Already
configure,
has a pipeline.
you will find, all of this scripting stuff that we want to move out of here into. Well, I mean, all of it, but that's this
I'm
pipeline
sorry, I got
scripting.
lost. We just need to move it, create templates and pipelines for them.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And I did a quick scan, but I need to look at it better with the piece that Kunal and Pataya sent me. I haven't done that, and I need to do that today. Or tomorrow morning, actually.
Okay, thanks. All right, I think we are through the agenda. Is there anything that we've missed? Any new other topics? All right, thanks everyone, and we will see you on the LF side next week.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.